Did you catch this? A U.S. Senator asked the Homeland Security Secretary a yes or no question about a 9-0 Supreme Court order.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Secretary, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
And I was glad to see in your recent testimony that you reaffirmed your obligations to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And I understand you had an exchange with Senator Murphy on the Abrego Garcia case. And so I'm just going to put the question directly to you. Are you or DHS doing anything to comply with the 9-0 Supreme Court order to facilitate his return to the United States? Just yes or no.
This administration is following all federal court orders.
Madam Secretary, this is a simple question.
It's the president's prerogative on conversations that
Madam
happen
Chair,
with the president of El Salvador.
I ask a simple question. I would, we have a limited amount of time. I just asked you, Madam Secretary, whether or not you or the Department of Homeland Security are taking any action to facilitate the 9-0 Supreme Court decision to facilitate his return. This is a very simple question. Are you taking any action to facilitate his return, or are you not?
This administration is following and complying with all federal court orders to make sure that we
So you are, because the court ordered that you facilitate his return. So you are facilitating his return.
Sir, Senator, thank you for the question. But what I would tell you is that we are following court orders and that your advocacy for a known terrorist is alarming to me.
Madam Secretary.
It's alarming to me because he's a human smuggler.
Madam Secretary, I'm going to have to reclaim
a terrorist, and he's not a U.S. citizen. He's a citizen of El Salvador, and he's home. If he were to come back
Madam
here,
Secretary,
we would take him immediately
all right,
back.
I'm going to have to, Madam Secretary, you should know a couple facts then, which is, number one, in 2019, the immigration court said that he should not be returned to El Salvador because it would put his life in danger. The Trump administration at the time did not appeal that decision. After that, he got a work permit and was working legally in the United States of America. This is also why the district court and the appellate court and the Supreme Court have ruled as they have. I suggest that rather than make these statements here, that you and the Trump administration make them in court under oath, because despite what you just said, the federal district court, whose judge is hearing this case right now, said, and I'm quoting, that the administration has provided no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any other terrorist activity. I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for his due process rights.
Sir.
No, Madam Secretary, with respect.
I would suggest that you defend and stand alongside the victims of illegal crime.
This is political rhetoric.
Citizens who live here and are United States Americans. I would suggest you advocate for them as hard as you do.
Madam Secretary, I know you're doing a political speech here. I get it. I'm asking questions of law. No, you're just spewing rhetoric.
I truly believe this.
You're spewing rhetoric. Let me ask you this. Do you agree with Justice Scalia in the Supreme Court opinion in Reno v. Flores that, I'm quoting, "It is well established that the Fifth Amendment entitles aliens to due process of law in deportation proceedings." End of quote.
Sir, we are utilizing every due process tool that this Congress has afforded us. The Congress decides what due process is appropriate for every situation. Expedited removal is a due process that you have afforded us that we are utilizing. The Alien Enemies Act.
I'm going to reclaim my time, Madam Secretary.
So we are giving due process and using the tools that this Congress has given us.
This is really, I'm asking sort of simple questions of law. And simple questions like, are you complying with a 9-0 Supreme Court decision? And you seem to think that's some kind of trick question. Let me ask you this. You were down at CCOT in El Salvador, and you said, and that, I'm quoting, "It is one of the tools in the toolkit that we will use." And it's well known that the Trump administration is paying the government of El Salvador to keep these individuals, including those who the U.S. courts have determined were illegally taken out of the country in violation of their due process rights. Have you seen the grant document between the United States and the government of El Salvador with respect to the CCOT?
It's important that everybody knows the consequences of what happens for their actions in this country. When you break the law and you're a member of a foreign terrorist organization,
I asked you a question. Have you seen the document? This is not hard.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what are the provisions of the document? So do you know what entities in El Salvador are receiving the funds?
I'm sure you can see this document as well and have looked at it for evaluation.
I'm glad you raised that, Madam Secretary, because I sent you a letter along with many of my colleagues here on April 8th asking for, among other things, that document. Will you respond to the letter that we sent?
I will respond to your letter.
Thank you. Can I get some sense of when?
We will take a look at it. I don't remember seeing your letter yet, but I will certainly take a look at it.
Well, it's been there over a month.
The senator's time has expired.
No, Madam Chair.
Senator Kennedy?
Madam Chair.
Madam Secretary.
Secretary, I have some additional questions.
No, sir, that's up to you to manage that time. Senator Kennedy.
Madam Secretary.
I need a little help from a chair that respects the members of the committee. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. This is...
What unfolded between Chris Van Hollen and Kristi Noem wasn't just tense, it was revealing. Van Hollen didn't come in with speeches or theatrics. He asked the simplest possible question. Is the Department of Homeland Security complying with a unanimous Supreme Court order to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Yes or no? And instead of answering, the secretary pivoted, over and over again. This is where the alarm bells should be ringing for every American who cares about the rule of law. A 9-0 ruling from the Supreme Court of the United States isn't optional. It's not a suggestion. It's not something an administration gets to dodge with buzzwords and accusations. Yet that's exactly what happened. When pressed, Noem shifted from legal compliance to inflammatory rhetoric, labeling Garcia a terrorist and smuggler, claims that, according to federal courts, the government has provided zero evidence to support. Van Hollen made something crystal clear, and it's the part critics conveniently ignore. He was not vouching for the man. He was vouching for due process. That distinction matters because due process isn't a favor. The government grants when it feels generous. It's a constitutional right, affirmed again and again by immigration courts, appellate courts, and ultimately the Supreme Court itself. The most disturbing moment came when the secretary treated compliance with a court order like a trick question. That should terrify you. If the executive branch can't plainly state whether it's obeying a unanimous Supreme Court decision, then we're no longer talking about immigration policy. We're talking about constitutional breakdown. This exchange exposed a dangerous mindset that accusations can replace evidence, that political messaging can override judicial rulings, and that entire categories of people can be stripped of rights if they're unpopular enough. That's not how democracy survives. That's how it erodes. The Constitution does not disappear at the border. The Fifth Amendment does not come with exceptions for political convenience. And when government officials dodge the law in public hearings, it's not weakness to call it out. It's a civic duty. If this clip made you uncomfortable, good, it should, because the question now isn't about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's about whether court orders still mean anything when they become inconvenient. Watch the full exchange, understand what's really at stake, and don't let this moment pass without holding power accountable. Democracy only works if we defend it, and that starts with refusing to normalize lawlessness at the highest levels.